Hello and welcome to the Women of BSV show. It is our honor today to have a Twitter celebrity with us, Mr. Scatman. No, we are not jazzing you. It's true. Mr. Scatman, one of the developers of Awareness Neural Network Explorer, aka our main AI sister, Anne, is here with us today. So welcome, Mr. Scatman.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So is that true then? You are a developer?
Yes. I've been working on Anne. The name Anne came in around the time that BSV and Bitcoin joined forces on the project, but it's been a long journey. Yes.
Wow. And is that your background? Have you been a software developer before?
Yeah. I've been a software developer mostly my entire career, although it's taken some various turns and curves. But yes, yeah, I've been in the technical side. I've done things that I haven't spoken of in this community, but that have helped me get to where I'm at and building Anne, and excited of where we can go with Anne.
Do you think you could tell us a bit about Anne, Lukas? Because we know a little bit, but I'm sure you could give us a proper explanation.
Yeah, I can. I think so. My understanding of Anne continues to evolve as I keep working and building, and the world keeps changing. So at present, I see a need for humans to be able to be more human, and for us to be able to connect and be real, and the type of the time I get to spend with my daughters, for example, this is human time, and that type of time we should be able to have technology be able to build on that, and it shouldn't be at war with humans. We shouldn't. This divide I see sometimes that technology makes us less connected, even though we've got a big list of connections. It sometimes doesn't work that way. And so I'm seeing Anne as we have the ability to connect in new ways and to be more human. So this is the focus. To be.
So are you talking about tone? You know how on Twitter a lot of arguments start because people can't understand each other's tone. They perhaps don't know when someone's joking or whatever. Is that the kind of barrier that it's supposed to bridge?
This would be part of it. So the other thing is, it's when you're talking about a platform that can go in many different directions. Bitcoin is like this utility that we can use that's amazing, and we can all creatively build things on top of it that go in many directions. Anne is like that on the next layer. So the next layer of traditional databases or triple stores or data lakes, all these technical things that people have done to store information. That's where Anne is excelling and focusing on. But then you can go in many directions using that on the data layer. And that's why it's sometimes difficult to talk about, because I'm like a kid in a candy store chasing all these different lines depending on the mood or the moment or the year. And so I can, kind of get on these different jaunts that they're very fruitful, but it can go in a lot of different directions very quickly.
So is it like a framework or something, a way of categorizing data and connecting it to each other? Is that the?
Yes, I would say that is true. So at its core, we're talking about the ability to store and reference and index data. So one interesting analogy, even though I don't entirely like it, but it might be helpful for the viewers, is when Google, or they weren't the first. So when the first search engine came out, there was a problem. We had all this data on the bulletin boards and the websites, and we couldn't find it. We couldn't get to it. We couldn't. There was. Google helped provide an index, a way into it. And so this is what storing information the way that Anne stores it we can build that type of index and much more on the data that's starting to come into this new world of blockchain data. So we would then be able to
indexing system.
Yes, I mean this is one of the main benefits of using this type of design is the multiple indexes that come out of this. It also becomes it can be dangerous as well because of the multiple indexes. You know, when you want to start talking about privacy and this is some powerful, scary stuff, and I cross into that all the time and then have to back up and then have to rethink, you know, so this is all part of it.
No, I can imagine, particularly with the developments over the last couple of years, that it must really impact what you're doing and make you realize that, you know, you've developed something that's actually really powerful. So you've got to be careful how you implement it, presumably.
Yes, I'm very happy that I have not rolled this out publicly yet with the types of changes that we've all seen in our various locations.
On the other hand, just on a superficial level, I would have thought one of the things, if I want to store a file on the blockchain at the moment, I am a bit worried about how am I going to find it again. I mean, it's all right if I'm logged in as me and I know which files I've uploaded, you know, but for anyone else to find it, I mean, that's right. Seems like something that's a real missing link at the minute, isn't it?
Is that what the identity stack is for Anne? There's like an Anne identity.
The thing about my strong opinion on the identity stuff is identity is not it's not a side subsystem. It has to be innately connected to the very stuff that you're connecting it to. So it's kind of native in Anne. And I've been working with I hope I don't get him in Biko Media. We've been talking behind the scenes and working. He's got a great little way to get stuff on chain. And so to your point, Ruth, wouldn't it be nice if when you uploaded something, it was indexed properly and it was categorized?
Make a hell of a difference. Yeah.
You could build your own library. You could link to other people's libraries. You could now have a library-wide view. You know, you could build, you know, the Dewey Decimal System was useful to solve some of these problems. So now we can find things and you know, people are capable of building these things and they build them for their idea. What Anne is attempting to do is build it for all data so that this can be done. And an interesting thing about it is people don't actually have to implement the Anne one schema. And it's the same, going back to the Google example, Google didn't require you to follow some specific set of rules and their system wouldn't work until everybody adopted it. They used it to then make your data more easily found. And Anne can do that as well. That can act, if that was a project and we wanted to do that, I could use what I've built and we could use it solely for that, index all these ideas and convert them into Anne's one single language. And this could be not only cross-project, but cross-blockchain. And it could be non-blockchain as well, because the index would be on the blockchain, our blockchain, and it would then masterfully reference all the information of the world.
Which is maybe what we really need, isn't it? Because at the moment, you've got the regular internet where almost everything happens currently. And you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You don't want to lose that. You just want to connect it in a more intelligent way and in a way, presumably, that can hopefully last for generations and not just a person's lifetime.
That's right. And once you do have that done that way, then what is possible on the next steps is that's where I get very excited about that stuff. Once you have information in that structure, there's some very, very neat things that can be done, which benefit my life and help me connect to real people. It gets into that part of it then, because now the utility's working with me. It's not like this foreign, cold, you know, metal thing that's, you know, violating my space. Like I've said before, I don't carry a phone or any of that stuff I'm a little bit extreme, but for those reasons.
No, I don't blame you at the minute, especially. They keep trying to get people to install apps and things, don't they? That aren't necessarily in our best interest anyway.
Yeah.
Yes, and Casey has been busy building a kind of linking project that I think relates real well with Anne. Is that the case?
Yeah, so Link BSV is going to be kind of a mix between like LinkedIn, Facebook, and Linktree, I guess you could say. And it's going to be actually a directory of the people, the individuals that are building in the BSV ecosystem instead of just a Linktree service. So kind of you'll be able to have your entire online business portfolio in one place, very organized for people to be able to consume everything you're doing and keep it all organized. So it's I wanted to ask, what are the use cases you'd like to see first with this technology?
Yeah, that I myself have changed that half dozen times because of some of the reasons we talked about earlier, because the environment's changing. So I don't know how that's a tough one for me to honestly answer in this exact moment. But I could tell you which ones I've chased, and I know quite a few that are ready to chase. And I've kind of, at times on Twitter, I kind of wanted to test the waters to see if anybody was interested in joining or, collaborating. And I'm more of a knock on the door type of, in that type of situation.
Is there a way with kind of that general vision that I just gave you with Link BSV that you see and could be incorporated into our platform and optimize it? Or?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. This would be a native, this would be a very natural way of doing things in Ann, because that product itself has been, I'm talking about LinkedIn, not yours, but LinkedIn itself has been talked about in the groups that I'm in, which talk about Ann of, this is all ready to be done when you have information sitting on a silver platter ready to connect in this way. But the great news is, whether it's done beforehand or after, it can be done. So it's not like a showstopper, and there can always be interesting ways we could talk just to see how data could be structured more effectively.
Well, on that note, I don't know what you're doing after this, but at 2:00 today, I'm speaking with the developer that is helping us build Link BSV, and you're more than welcome to come in on that conversation if there's a way that we can make the platform better using your product there. I mean, I'm more than happy to explore that stuff. I want to make this like an amazing platform that helps to unite and like organize and help people onboard and organize the whole, what they're doing in the ecosystem. So
yeah, no, I would love to. I'd love to be a part of it and have a chat, and however I can help or be a part of it or listen, it'd be lovely.
I'll ping you right after this and bring you in with Jordan if you think it would be a valuable conversation, because we're in those stages that this would be the perfect time to start incorporating from the back end.
Great. I'd love to be a part of the meeting. Thanks.
Yes, thank you for bringing it up, Rory. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. This is real time building, peer to peer.
We all have the same goal, right? So
yes,
fabulous.
I'm intrigued how you log into Ann. Sorry to get so sort of deep into under the hood, but like, is it? You're saying that identity is, a part of it. It's native. Yeah. Do you log in, or do you stay logged in, or is it?
This can, so different use cases can take little different subtle nuances to this, but at the end of the day, you are one or multiple identities in Ann. You can have 20 it doesn't matter, but you use a BSV address to represent the identity that you currently are operating under. And the idea, and so then you have a key, and the challenge here is how to effectively allow users to use their Bitcoin address or their Bitcoin key, because that's what you're going to use to be signing transactions and that sort of stuff. So in a wallet, you have, it's similar to what wallets do, but the address doesn't change, because this is not about trying to, give you an extra layer of privacy for sending payment transactions. If you want to buy a bunch of things, you don't necessarily want them all coming from the same address, because then someone could say, hey, I see all the little things you're buying. In this world, you do want the data to come from the same thing, because you're storing things that you are intentionally wanting to put in the public square. And so So you would have a key that has an Ann identity BSV address. And so, when I talk amongst friends, it might be a certain circle. When I talk amongst colleagues from one sector of the world I've worked with, it might be completely different and they don't know anything about that. I've been a bunch of crackpot things over here. I have separate identities that I use in the real world too, that you choose to let people know what, they need to know and deal with them. And so that's how Ann would work. You could have one identity if that's what you want to work with, or not. But it's just a neuron. This term has come up a lot in Ann. It's just a BSV key and address. You put the key in your local software. So whether that's an app you've downloaded, I don't have any of those released, but if you did, then it would always be there and it'd be safe on your device. Or if you're using a website, some people allow you to log in with those wallet tools, like you could use a money button tool. In Ann, I have a little Ann tool that I've built that any Ann app could use to allow you to get in there. And so once you're in, if you turn off your computer and come back, it still knows you're in there, that sort of stuff. But I mean, it's an area that, definitely can be improved, because it's like, what happens if you lose your key? How do I make it so you can back up your stuff? All those questions for user friendliness and making it make sense so my grandmother can use this,
But one thing I hear when I talk to people about Ann is that you're building lots of different apps and ways of using Ann, and they're all going to presumably be accessible by the same ID, by the same key. So I mean, that in itself, I think, is a really powerful tool, and something that we're like desperate for, really, is the idea of being able to log in with your wallet and just move around unhindered,
and this goes to, so people are seeing that that's needed, and so they're trying to create these aggregate things, but this is native. This is just how it works. If I go to the store, it's to say I walk into this one, I should be able to go to that one or that one or that one and build, if I want, build my profile, build my footprint, build the library of things that are connected to this Ann identity. There is questions that are ever present now. Before, up until now, the thing called feels or giving your opinions, these were open by design. I wrote yours.org. I wrote a yours.org article before I started developing on BSV to tell the community what could be done, but the cost that it comes at. And a lot of people, I don't feel, are being either honest or transparent about what's actually happening. What we're doing when we own our data and we're storing things on the chain, we're making them more visible to everybody in the world, to every company. So instead of Facebook only seeing, all your collected view of data, now the whole world can. And so I'm talking about unencrypted data. If you've chosen to say that you like something, or you've done some action on Twitch or any of these apps, it's visible. I could literally
It's a good point. Yeah.
And
it could be harvested by anyone. Yeah.
Oh, it can most definitely be harvested. And this was the point I was making before I even started working on Ann and BSV, that this is the point. You're going to go down that road. Then if we go down that road, we need to get some really good payoff for going down that road. I got to get really good services that are just, really justify putting that type of information out in the public sphere. Now, there are ways to not put it out in the public sphere. There are all through Ann that are part of it, different modalities. If you want something uber private, like a little journal entry that only you can see, that comes up in this app and nobody ever is going to see it, that's no problem. So there are different ways you can do this, but I'm just talking about the widest effect of Ann. Here's a great example of those indexes that I mentioned that can be built. Let's say I'm a male. I don't have a problem, gender male. And if I rate and I say that I'm gender male on Mr. Scatman, and then I rate a bunch of news articles that just came out, we can then very rapidly show the emotional footprint of what males are feeling for this article. And then we could search for articles that males are feeling frustrated about, stuff like that. Now, where any data point that Anne is storing can be used as the index. So not just males. You can, know, it becomes very, so like I said, it becomes scary in some pathways you go down when that's available, knowing how that stuff is used. So there's things I'm looking at right now to make even the fields encrypted so that the wide net can't be done. But then some people say, I want to be able to do it. I want to be able to have that ability. I'm already telling people how I feel on Twitter with the likes, and or actually you can't even really tell them how you feel. You can only click a heart or a thumb up or down. It's like you see that really sad article, and I want to say, oh man, that's super sad or really moving. I want to be able to say that. I don't want to be like heart. I mean, what does that mean?
Right.
What does that even mean? What does that even mean? I mean, so.
Yeah.
But I do see your point though. The power of it could be quite, out of control if you don't put some safeguards into it. You could be psychologically profiling the entire population.
I just saw a release. Yeah, I just saw a release by a doctor who says the age of free will is over. You silly humans don't have a soul. We know everything you're going to do. We can predict it. Ha ha ha. I mean, he didn't say it that way.
No, but like you may as well have done. Yeah.
So
that's terrifying.
And so I'm looking at Anne, and I'm like, I don't want to give these guys that. So that's why it's to release the code base, which is what I was intending to do, open source, to let developers run free with it. I'm kind of not
backing away a bit.
Yeah,
I'm glad that someone as ethical as yourself is working on it. To be honest with you, that I think that's a big concern for me at the moment. Generally, is that Bitcoin SV is a hugely powerful tool in the best possible way, but that that only really works as long as good people are working on it, and there's not always a guarantee of that. So. I don't know.
There's a natural struggle that ends up coming up because me as a person or as Anne, I do not want to be a middleman. I do not want to be a control or choke point.
No.
So that's the thing. I want hands off. I want develop and let's go. But then so there's all these dances and all these nuances that others before us have had to address. So it's not necessarily anything new. But now I'm in the hot seat.
I'm glad you're taking it seriously, though.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I think that's what worries me most.
I remember seeing you several years ago on Twitter. You were one of the first people I followed in Bitcoin. Really? Yes, and I thought. Yeah, I thought from Bitcoin Cash days and over to BSV, you were one of the pioneers. And I've always felt that you're very serious. You take things very seriously and that you have a lot of fun, like a sense of humor too.
I do have fun.
So yes, tell us about that a bit. I mean, I remember seeing you. That's why I think you're a real Twitter celebrity to me. And so to see you in person is very tactile.
well,
I'm used to seeing you in the hat.
Well, back in the day when we were in the trenches doing the fun meme wars, that was definitely a lot of fun, and so
you made some great little videos. Yeah,
I wasn't actually it ended up being 20 months of me doing full time. I mean, when I say full time, I mean like 14 hours of meme work a day.
Wow.
Of just like, and having fun with it, as you saw. So that was the mode. And then, talking to Wildcard, and then my last, I went to the London thing, my only conference. I'm not a conference goer type character, but I showed up to the London thing. And then right after that, I started Anne. So I put 20 months into the community, learning of what this stuff was, and running on the meme side, having a good time, and then I got to do a whole different type of work, back to where I actually came from. So.
Yeah.
So I saw your text, not your text, your tweet the other day about what was happening with the reorg, and I was very intrigued what you meant there. Can you elaborate on your perspective or vantage point from what happened?
Yeah. So I am 100%. First of all, I have to state this clearly. I'm 100% in favor of the white paper and of Nakamoto consensus. And so, as I was very vocal with BCH in those memes to that effect the whole time. So whenever I have an aversion, if we as in a group, a loosely coupled group of whatever we are, step in a direction that we just previously mocked and ridiculed people going in. If we even brush up against it with our shoulder, that's when I'm like, I'm not going to be the guy that then take, hey, this is fine, we got to do this, and start justifying it. Even if it makes me a devil, that's my imperative is to remain true, even if I'm wrong. I mean, it doesn't mean that I got it all right. But I have to remain true. So that thing to me, So we got attacked, or when I was on that Kurt call, someone asked what I thought of the attack. I had really no opinion of it because it was no big deal. The first one in mid-July, July 12, 13, 14. So that thing happens. And now since that point, so if we announce an attack on Twitter, on the web and in the news, we said, hey, we're under attack. Here's the address of the bad guy, that kind of thing. Wouldn't you think that we would at least maintain our hash power where it was when we got attacked on a hash power attack, or even maybe increase it? But when you look at the chart right now, if you go back and look at the point that we announced there was an attack, we just, our hash power went down. It just is an odd thing to me.
That is odd, yeah.
And why? Why is that odd?
It's odd because if you've just been attacked, it's like, just put it in any context. You got like armies roaming into your town trying to bang down your walls, and it's like you announce we're under attack, lower the walls. No, you don't say that. You say raise the walls higher. So I was expecting there to be more hash power already because we announced that we were under attack. So that was step one. So I'm already kind of going into this. I'm thinking we're under
what
attack.
What are they thinking?
Yeah, let's boost this thing up. So then all this, I'm minding my own business, and I see the 100 block reorg information coming out on Twitter. So then I start paying attention to it, and I'm kind of jumping in there going, okay, what's going on? And then I see the tweets. This is what kind of got me triggered, to be honest. I'm kind of triggering, oh no, we can't be those guys. When I see the messages start to spread around, hey guys, there's a malicious chain. It's been attacking us. I can't remember the language used. Cancel it, or cancel that chain, the longer chain. We got to cancel the longer chain. The shorter one's the good one. Now, if there were actual double spends, then this is completely, I would say, well, it's half normal. We should be able to say it's a bad chain. There are double spends. The reason I say half normal, the node should have already picked that up and not allowed it. I mean, that's why to me, it's like, okay, if there's a double spend, then we should be able to easily show it. In the first attack, they gave us the bad guy's address, the attacker's address, and said, here's the one. And this one, I've heard a lot of people say there's double spends, but I haven't seen it yet. So here's my main contention was, if there's a double spend, that's great. It's a bad chain, clearly. Obviously, 100 block reorg, what the heck is that to begin with? And
that's a lot. Yeah.
And that's why that's why I made the comment with one line of code. This could have just, why do we allow 100 block reorg? That's a question I think that's worthy of being asked, especially with our low hash in a low hash environment. And a lot of people are going to have a lot of opinions on this. But at the end of the day, I am a big fan of miners. I've always, through all the memes that you referenced, I was always on the side. It's their money. They choose what chain they want to extend. When they mine, they pick the one they want to add a block to, and they mine. And that's their decision. That's completely their decision. And if that's what they did in this to fix it, That's what I was being the loudest about. So to wrap it all up, I know it's been a long answer, maybe an answer, maybe not
It's
even
interesting.
an answer. But at the end of the day, if what they did is say, we don't like that chain and it's our choice and we want to mine this one, and they then mined the shorter one, which is what we circulated on Twitter was the good one. They mined it and made it longer to surpass the bad one. That's how the product was intended to work, right there. That's fine. This is fine. It's just there are some of these little nuances that were, why is our hash power going down? This is, it just, these types of little things brought it up. So I decided not to cause any more trouble. I deleted all my tweets. I do this already. I did this a month ago. I did it 6 months ago. Twitter does it to me. I do it to myself. Sometimes it's good to like smack yourself before somebody else does. So if I could wipe them first, then they didn't get me, But I reset it, and then I haven't tweeted since. I don't want to cause anybody any trouble, and I'm not trying to be negative.
No, but I let me interrupt you because I think actually the BSV's critics are some of the most important people, and I mean the critics within. Forget the critics without, because they're just shit stirrers. But like the people who will call people out and basically speak the truth and follow their logic through to its end without deviating. I think that's really, really important, because the minute that we start putting our heads in the sand and our fingers in our ears and trying to pretend that nothing's wrong, we're in deep shit. We really do need voices like you, regardless of how we might feel about it. We need voices like you to push back a bit and go, hang on, guys, is this in the spirit of what we're supposed to be doing? Does this make us more centralized? Is this a problem? Does this make any of the criticism legitimate?
True friend.
Yeah. Well, some of the communication too is what I still don't know the answer. Actually, when I actually came back, so here's
I'm not sure I do either.
But here was what was disappointing so I'm coming out loudly saying the really boss champion move would have been to mine the smaller chain to make it bigger than the bigger chain. And if that's what happened, then it would have been a great time for people to say, silly Scatman, that's what we did. And then it's like, end of story. That's great. And it's like, oh, okay, awesome. But instead, it's like an immediate justification. The community was ready to justify anything. We could have strung somebody up and they'd have been like, oh, they deserved it. This is what
the Oxbow incident.
I was just ready to go. This was my thing. I saw. So the responses that I saw were justifying all these thought lines that may not even have been the case. But I was just advocating for the smaller the miners to mine the chain they want to support, and it becomes the longest chain. It's the legit one. So
you just want us to win on our own terms. Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
We've set these rules. Let's follow them.
That's right. And I have to have. I'm in this. I'm a part of this whole effort because it's meaningful to me, and it's based on the white paper. Yeah. So in this community, it's not based on a religion or an ideology or anarchy isms. It's based on the white paper, and so that is very important. Now, again, I've read stuff Craig's recently said. People don't put words in his mouth and can't say what it means. It is what it is. It says what it says. So I'm not trying to reinterpret it and say, here's what my opinion of the white paper means. It's pretty basic. If you want to just get to a high level, it's not very long. It's not too technical, the white paper, and it's pretty basic recap of what things ought to be. So that's really my intent, and it's been my intent the whole time. So I already took a blow by losing the BCH green logo that I spent years marketing and have all these great memes and things to be able to contrast and all this stuff. And it's like I can't support something that I have meme history criticizing. I can't support it. So that's my main issue. And again,
be consistent. Just be consistent. That's all you're asking, right?
Right. Again, even if I was incorrect in assuming that what we did was against it. So that's what, and I'm still trying to get those. And I'm still waiting for that information to flow down. I'd love to see the double spend. I would love to see the double spend.
Well, this
attempt.
is it. I mean, they may well have more information than we do. So yeah.
But I mean, if there's a double spend attempt, that means it's been isolated, it's been detected. It's like, hey, I could do some research. I saw a bounty program was put on. Give me an address. Let me send the bloodhound on it. I'll go. I have tools I've built that people don't know about that I can use. That can come up with some interesting information.
Good. No, I think it's good. I think it's all good. I don't think anybody should feel bad about, just like reminding everybody what we're here to do. And it's not to make stuff up, and it's not to just pretend there's not a problem when there is. That's not going to get us anywhere. So good for you. I was going to ask another question actually that was sort of relevant. Oh yes, what did you make of the first gigabyte block being mined today? That's a pretty cool milestone.
Was it? I mean, did that happen? I don't know.
They reckon there's 2 of them now. So I mean, maybe it was just shy of a gigabyte, but it was like
And that never happened.
More or less.
99.96.
No, never happened before.
Okay, it must have happened on testnet then. I get
no, it's happened on testnet before.
Milestones confused.
This is mainnet. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Sounds
great.
No,
and there was two of them, wasn't there? It wasn't like just one. I think 2 of them.
Do we know what's in it? Does any? I mean,
I think it's this Meta ID data mostly. I think this Chinese company.
What is that?
They seem to have a bunch of apps. I wish I could tell you. Perhaps we should invite them on.
I could look.
Yes, I did watch his presentation. It was in Chinese. Yes, and I didn't understand all of it, but I just like listening, And I think that again, it is related to this concept of identity. So having that one seamless identity across the internet is what I think that's related to. And I was wondering with Anne, if I go into my hand cache, and then I go into my crypto fights, and then I go into, let's say, Relica. If I am logged in with my Anne ID, would that be seamless where I can just enter all of these without having to log in again and again and again?
Yeah, that would have to be no, that can be done. It'd have to be created though. It wouldn't work straight away because those apps have required processes in order to authenticate or log in, whatever method they're using. But it could very well easily be for you. So this is where I could choose what ID to log into to those from a master console sort of view. I'm like, hey, I'm going to go to crypto fights. Oh, cool. I want to fight as Rory. Boom, boom.
Yeah.
Then you want to jump in and go to some an app, but it's still all connected to you in a way that you can still manage all your stuff then.
That sounds like an absolutely perfect fit for what I'm working on, because I'm trying to make it to where it's not so confusing and it's a really seamless onboarding to use all these platforms, and it's not like 15 different things you got to go to all the time. So I'm really excited to go deeper and learn how it could be incorporated into what we're building, because it seems like it's the same vision there.
Cool.
And it seems like the Meta ID thing is a similar sort of concept, because they seem to have built quite a few apps underneath it, don't they? Underneath their main Meta ID concept.
They sure have a lot of data, whatever they're.
They certainly do. Yeah.
So
I think they were saying there's something to do with a competition that might end in a few days. So it might fall back again a bit. I think on the 12th. From what I read, but I couldn't tell you exactly why.
The beautiful thing about AND data is it's all resource data. So like if we go on the web now and find these open databases that you could find for some domain like the Tree of Life with all the phylum and the kingdoms and this sort of stuff. Once information is put in this one schema system in AND, it's now a permanent resource for us. So it's not like, hey, look at that 1 megabyte or 2 megabyte or whatever block I pushed. This is now reusable as information from now forever into the future. Not reusable just like it's a picture, which is, hey, here's the picture. But I mean, it's a data footprint that can become interconnected. So every single transaction is building a more capable system. because those indexes are building on themselves and building because they're being used and added to. So this is why it probably makes sense for me to do something like they're doing, get the data on BSV before it becomes too expensive. And so I could start dumping all these giant resources into being onto the chain so that we have them available, core concepts that are referenced, dates, date neurons. I was about ready to broadcast about 500,000 neurons, but ran into some service issues, and so decided not to do that. But this would just kind of get them onto the chain. They become like pegs, because these are things that are, like 9/11 date. This is a very familiar date, or any date that's going to be referenced in a historical event or an article. Wouldn't it be nice if we were referencing an index of this and I didn't have to do some weird text type searches in the background in order to tie the strings together? So this would be, you're referencing a date as a thing then, not as a string. And that's what, if I build those in advance or we let the users create them, we could start connecting our data. And like I said before, whether we use it native and an app chooses to, in the future, build things in this and way and work with me or look at the code, or they just do it their own way. And I choose to say, I like the data they're putting on chain. It's public. I'm going to index it. And I'm going to make this data very usable. Thank you for putting it on the chain.
Okay, so that's what strikes me about this, is that you're making data more valuable.
Yeah.
You're making disparate data, turning them into objects.
The index is always what becomes the value. This is what becomes the value. The index.
Doesn't Google know it? Yeah. God only knows what they're doing with all that data.
And how do you incentivize your process? What is the incentive for you or for anyone that wants to use it?
There's quite a few different ones. The ones that I've spoken most about, because it's the simplest to convey in these types of talks, is the awareness feedback edges. So these are kind of like they power the system. So remember I mentioned these pegs. We can get like factual information, dates and things that I'm going to peg into the system that are referenceable. And then the users with your identity, your multiple identities, if you want, when you want to rate information or say you loved it, or instead of that only thumb up, you wanted to give it a nuanced expression, that is when you actually pay a microtransaction to do that. Because by doing that, you're going to get utility that you very much appreciate, that gives you a better experience because you were able to give that very fine type of feedback. So when you do that, it pays out the sponsor of the object that you are rating. So that's one of the incentive models, is if you were the one that
incentivizes people to build.
So if you put this data structures and you become the sponsor or the owner of that index on chain, that's all a neuron is when I use the word neuron, whether it's Tom Cruise which is my favorite example for some reason. I don't know why. Kind of a running Tom Cruise joke. This is my go-to. But whatever the neurons, and this is also why they're all like NFTs already. They're revenue streams. Every neuron is an address. It's a wallet. It gets paid out when anybody rates it, and so it gets paid out. The sponsor of it gets paid out, and that means, if you're the one who helped get this on chain, you put Tom Cruise on chain, or you put Matrix, or you put the genre action neuron on chain. Anytime anybody rates the genre action, I already put that on chain through the movie Mensa process. But this is my point.
You are the receiver of the...
Well, like in Casey's app, hypothetically, if there were job attributes that needed to be created that people were going to be categorizing, or job skills like JavaScript and programming and meeting management tools, you can imagine the massive numbers of attributes and classifications that are a part of a LinkedIn type product. If you were the one who got those on the chain as a part of your app, then anytime those are rated or used, you are the sponsor and you get paid out. So that's the primary, first line of defense incentive for getting information on the chain.
This reminds me of Slictionary, but like for everything.
Yeah, and when I get concepts, I'll point to Slictionary. I'll be able to wire. I'll be able to wire from from the concept that the Slictionary is doing, because it's a great thing. People are defining it, but I'll be able to point to it and say, here's the Sliction entry for this word. I'll be able to also point to it. It's a nice little extra data point. Same thing with weather, the weather. The weather app people were one of the early ones that actually created an address for each town that they were referencing. This is the right way to do it. This is a great thing they did very early. And so it's very lovely, because now if I have an address, I have a city on chain, permanent resource that represents, it's an address and it represents a city. And so anytime you want to reference it or tag it or say, hey, there's a meetup here, you would use that. You would point to that address instead of spelling it out or spelling it wrong, or, all the different things that come as a problem with that. You just point to it. But what I'm saying is, if I have Paris, or I don't know if he has weather in that one, or pollution indexes, but whatever, if I create an index for that city, I point with a relationship to say, here's the weather BSV reference to their version of that thing. So I'm wiring it all together. It also becomes kind of like, what did they call that? Hive. They had a product similar to this aspect, but it was actually addressing it in a different way, but it was called Hive. But this is a natural thing with information that comes.
So this is slightly like Wikipedia as well, but where the people who create the entries are incentivized to do so by having created their own money earning.
And you can have competing entries, because then it's not hijacked. And like, this is I'm like, oh my God! This is an entirely biased article of Joe Schmo or whoever, and then you then also find out. Wait a minute! Look at these other articles this person's written. Look at this edit. It's all transparent, and then it's like, and that's fine. Some people may say, hey, I still think that's the accurate view, and that's where I've referenced the idea of worldview. Worldview is so important in data. It's not an absolute truthy system. It's a truthy system within a worldview. My worldview or so-and-so's worldview, and maybe I adopt it and agree to it, but it's not like, this is important. So now we can have competing alternate views without, there being
a problem.
Like, no, you're kicked off the platform. We don't agree with that one, thing, sort of deal. You could get in, or if you get a one narrow viewpoint hijacking all your tools, and then now everybody has to view only that, or they're kicked off. I mean, that's not.
This is my favorite part of BSV, is that we can literally use it to take back the narrative. They're clearly using very dark shadow algorithm operations, psychographic mining in the background to manipulate and control and enslave, and it's got to stop. That's the main driving force behind the activism of sharing everything that I'm doing, is to stop that. It's the thing that keeps me awake at night, is how bad they have control of the mind of the masses. Like, I'm in a herd of buffalo running towards the cliff, popping my head up going, I don't want to go over the cliff. Let's stop and talk about this. Everybody just keep pulling me over the cliff. Like, it's unacceptable, and it's scary, and it's like, how do you see Anne being used most effectively to take back the narrative? I mean, these are, over time tools that'll work, but like, is there something that Anne can do faster on a more like collective consciousness level to help with that?
This is precisely the space that I'm in right now, because of the time issue, and because of the concern of not wanting to release code issue. I'm looking at what you're talking about right now, something that's a more quick hit, that doesn't have to do all of the things the whole platform would have to do. And I'm exploring that. I think I have a strong candidate, and I've already done quite a bit with it, but I've got to be careful in that space as well. So but just without saying too much, I resonate with what you just said. That's where I would go with it.
Yeah, I mean, my first taste of that, I guess, would be kind of what Cliff High was doing with the predictive linguistics analysis coming out of the collective conversation, the psychic premonitions that are coming out in our words that, that you can aggregate and use to, come up with the truth of a story and a situation and a, country's status versus the, narrative that they're pumping. So
Yeah,
I love stuff like this. These are the tools we need.
And there is a need for narrative-less information. So
Right.
it's like I don't want to know what you think about it, and I don't want to know what you tell me it means. You can do that, and you're welcome to do that. But I actually want a place where I can go just to get the info documented. And so this is where it starts to become super interesting when you document information. Just square one, date, event, concept, what was involved, what was connected, and all of a sudden, you start to see some amazing patterns emerge that are hard to spin when they're viewed. It's like making a meme. It's like we make memes to be able to convey condensedly packed truths that unfold in a short, concise boom. And so what if we could make an app that was doing that? And in a way, that's the type of potential I can see that we could combat some of the lies. We don't have to combat them on a debate basis, on an intellectual, that's not true, you made it. It's like that. It's like that's gonna go. We can combat it on a level that's invoking these internal archetypes and truths that are firing. And this is when I talk. You're giving a great example of why I'm talking about more than data, and about our humanness. That's human spirit. This is like the spirit fighting back, not my mental things and trying to calculate. I can calculate. I can go there. But what is that? It's the same thing about convincing. You can go convince somebody that BSV is the best coin, and then the next day they can get unconvinced. It's like,
I know. It's the most frustrating.
But I'm just saying, if you're in the
battle
realm,
that never ends. Yeah.
If you're in the realm of like convincing in the mind, we need to reach people in there in the realm. I'm playing with my three little girls when we're enjoying playtime, and time, it's timeless. It's in a realm that's not in an argument debate realm. So we need to reach people in that. And I think what you're talking about is, if we have tools that can fire and tap into that. I've got a buddy. I was a co-founder of a virtual reality startup that's research and development kind of thing. And there are some really exciting things that can be done when you get the data in and then you view it in an immersive experience. Yeah. It's like you're flying through data in a web.
I would imagine that like the neurons are kind of exploding out with links.
I'm just saying there's a lot of really and
must be now, like looking at fireworks,
Well, and
yes.
Now, imagine if you could see ahas. Yeah, exactly. And imagine if you could get ahas that become present and available because you can observe them through the tool. So now you don't have to go manually search for, create some data model that has variables, traditional R models and stuff. Yeah. No. You could start to actually have some tools that bubble these. Hey, look at this. Because of how they're being visualized, they just naturally get your attention.
You should create like a meme generator or something that leverages this data. That would be amazing, wouldn't it?
This can be done when I get to the semantic understanding. I have a semantic language to store, but this is a very big beast.
I was going to say, does it utilize grammar or something? Is there some kind of structure that you could then?
I have a background project that this is inspired from, and I went deep into the trenches in those areas, so I know what can be done, especially with this design. So this design has been set up to not handcuff or cripple me from getting there. So this is where I have to be careful with the language, because I know it's exciting when we talk about AGI or AI. These are all potentials that can be done with because I've done them already, and I know for a fact, without doubt, that this architecture will not stop you midway when you're trying to get to your desired goal of these different processes, because I've gotten to the end product manually, and I know what the design is needed. So now we have the design, and I haven't gone there manually. I haven't built like an English parser that can parse any language that it finds and then conceptualize it into not just grammars, because grammars are only one layer. You get your
semantics as well. Yeah, totally other layer.
I want to be able to resolve neurons in context. So if you're saying, hey, remember that thing we were just talking about?
Context is everything.
But I mean, remember that thing we were just talking about? Oh, you should be able to resolve that. Or for example, if I gave you a thing and was like, you know, those really funny, cute cat videos where they get scared and they jump. What's that thing you put next to a cat and it jumps? Have you seen those videos?
I know what you mean, but I can't think. Yeah.
You put a vegetable next to it and
then freaked out. Yeah,
and they jump. You know, so being able to resolve that, if I would say, hey, then the system needs to be able to resolve it and map it to that peg. Remember, I keep talking about these pegs as neurons, whether it was a date neuron. If you said, hey, my birthday's on, September 11th, then I need to go resolve that to the September 11th neuron, because in a brain, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
When I'm seeing things, hearing things, talking about things, and then now you can actually cascade new things that fire that would be called thought. There's some very amazing lines you can go down into that are not programmed. This sounds
a lot closer
like
to the human brain to me than any so far.
This is not if then. This is not a list of if this. I know, because I've done it that way, and it's painful, it's brutal, and it's hacky. And then you're creating something in your own image.
Short.
No, you're creating something in your own image, right? Because you've got to define all the rules. I want a system that can learn English. I don't want. I'm partaking in the adventure of raising my 3 girls, and I have seen. It's amazing watching their language acquisition and watching these different. It's just mind blowing, and the insights they get and the thoughts they have, and you're like, how did they even come up with that? What just happened? It's so cool. And so these are the things that need to be your system. If you're the type of system I'm interested in is things that are doing those types of things. And I'm not trying to duplicate human, and I'm not doing that, but I'm saying these insights are important for us to
But this is going to get a hell of a lot closer, though, I think, than anything else we've done so far.
I like now. So I want to be clear to the audience. There's this and thing in Bitcoin. What we're talking about now is the research and development side of and.
Yeah,
it's a different.
This is the way off stuff.
But I like to refer to this now as silicon intelligence, not artificial and not even AGI, because I don't have biological feedback in a computer. This is so important. The idea of needs, whatever the hierarchy is, and whatever system we have ascribed to. People have studied human needs at different ages of development, but whatever it is, these are super critical because they're real. When someone says, "Are you hungry?" and you're crying, or you're crying as a baby and your tummy's aching, you feel hungry. This is something you can actually relate to. And then when mama says, "Oh, poor baby, you're hungry," now the sounds of these things are mapping to this feeling you're having. So you have to have something real to map to. Otherwise, it's a forever Chinese thought room experiment.
Exactly. You never get out of the room.
It's classic thing where
you're just reading a manual.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is there is a way to build something new. I'm not trying to build human, but there is a way to build a silicon type version that has things that it can relate to on the similar level that we relate to for hunger and things that are real. A computer has a battery, a computer has an internet connection, a computer has a core CPU temperature. These things can be measured. These things can be used as a vital feedback in a silicon intelligence. And so
but it's also got human nodes. It's also got humans interacting with it. So it's
It's get input. That's what exactly. But it's got a sense of keyboard typing. I don't have that sense. I've got a sense of sound, and I've got my eyes and my ears. depending on your system. Now, we've got hardware that gives, cars the ability to see. We're using our camera now. So there's data. What it ends up coming down is data streams. And so the data streams come in, and then those have to get mapped into the system.
Can I just relate it to the human body just for a second?
Who
Sorry.
maps those?
No, they come in
streams.
Runtime. They fire neurons. So like the stream, like if I see the color red or a flash of light, or I hear a boom, these are going to invoke neurons and fire them in my mind. And now those are going to invoke neurons, and I'm going to resolve and categorize and say, whoa, what is this? Is it a threat? All these types of things are occurring, but it's all neuron based. The streams trigger the neurons, and then nothing happens in your mind without it being fired. I mean, this is the
electricity must flow.
Well, this is the point I made before. These data islands we're creating in Bitcoin, if we can loosely just talk about them, anything on an island in your brain, it's not going to fire. It's not connected. Mm-hmm. You can't get there. It doesn't exist. Therefore, it doesn't exist. It's like the neuron that's waiting to be grafted in.
Neuroplasticity.
Yeah.
But in the computer, who's mapping it? How is it mapped? It happens organically, you're saying?
The R&D side that I'm discussing is by observation. And so this thing would become a product of its environment. So then if you could imagine it had all the information of our culture, it would be that guy. So this is different, where I'm talking about a different thing here than just the Ann apps and storing information. This one I'm talking about, I want it to learn language by observing. So it learns, if your baby's raised in an English speaking environment, baby learns English. If it is raised in Japanese speaking environment, baby ends up speaking Japanese. And so that's who's teaching it, the user. You're the user, the one interacting with. Exactly.
Just like you do, Rory. Rory teaches.
But precisely, these are experienced neurons. There's actually experienced neurons in our mind. It's a different type of information than semantic storage. And you have an essence of time, even in the essence of passage of time right now. And as you could recall, when did I learn that thing? That was back when I was in college.
That's true. And you have flashbacks.
But
to when you learned something.
Yeah, interesting, because that's not the same thing as information, the information learned. And then you wait a minute, worldview. That was by my roommate. They had this crazy theory and they told it to me, and now it's kind of ending up being true. So now you know who told it to you as a part of, this is like context of worldview. Mm-hmm. So there's all these different things. It's not, what we were talking about mostly on the first part of the Ann talk was the semantic memory, and it's how you can get useful information in apps, and then kind of this runtime feels, awareness edge, which is a different type of information. Still stored the same way, though. That's the beautiful thing. But that's the other
lovely thing is that you're using some of the energy from the transaction feed, from the participants in the system being paid to build the structure. So you are kind of using the power intelligently to actually build the system, if you see what I mean. Yeah. So it's kind of a self-reinforcing
absolutely 100%.
Explosion of
it's a closed feedback
because everybody
loop.
gets
That's what
paid.
I mean with that. That's right. That's right. That's right. And
think
that
how powerful that is.
But that payment is also on the edge. That is the heart, the thumb up, the down, or the opinion, because you could just say, this guy sucks. That's not a feeling. That's a statement of a worldview opinion. But that edge in Ann, it pays the thing, which is cool, because if you hate me, okay, pay me to say it. That's fine. Go for it. It's paying them. Because I'm the identity who owns the neuron. If you're going to say that, but the closed feedback loop point is that feedback is making the whole system. It's one more experience. You see what I'm saying? Like in your, but like I said,
it builds on itself and builds on itself and builds on itself, like a snowball gathering snow.
One might dare say it could fit the it sounds kind of meta net to me, but I mean, I don't want to go there.
Sounds like the law of attraction.
I don't want to go to meta. Yeah. So, but, it's there. That this is the design. And again, we've talked about a lot of different ways it can go, and I've experienced that. I've went and thought, okay, what's the best way to get this? I built Anpedia. You talked about Wikipedia. I already had a product built. I just didn't want to release it. I haven't released Movie Mensa. Had that product fully built. It's still, people still are able to use that in the testing group. But there's been other apps that have been built. It's just not, if I release something and I can't devote my entire energy and time to babysitting, that's not the right model for me. I'm not there yet, because then I can't go do the things I actually want to do. And
so you need to nominate people to be in charge of these things.
And
you need to hand it over a bit.
That's on me though, because I'm not from the open source world. So what really needs to happen, this is why I then got the idea, okay, I'm going to write open source code and get it, and then let the people run with it. And that's where I was doing the last 6 months, building this really robust open source model that other devs could jump in and run with. They wouldn't, they can ask me questions all they like, but they could own it, develop it, come up with some fun, amazing things to do with it. But that's when I got the, income.
It's like, hang on a minute.
Riots in the street and boots on people's heads and, spinning, up crazy governments. Then all of a sudden I was like, I'm going to have to rethink that open source thing for now. I'm going to put that one on pause. And now back to Casey's other point, are there any ways something could be done more quickly and kind of just jump into there? And so I'm interested in those and less development. I've got the, gajillion lines of code written for different things I've chased. And so I'm interested in doing.
I'm envisioning this as like BSV is the library, but you're the one that's aggregating all the scrolls that are being put into that library of Alexandria that they can't take down. And Anne is like a baby that's in theta, that's in record mode with its brain, just like absorbing everything.
That's right.
And
that's exactly right.
Yeah. So this is amazing. And
you've blown our minds.
Yeah, mindgasms are my favorite. These are the things like really just, and so, and I mean, obviously we're all in the, same world here, and we need the finances. So to be able to be, involved in this in the beginning, the amount of revenue that you're, kind of alluding to can be generated from this, is generational wealth. I mean, I can pass these revenue streams on to my children. I absolutely love that. I appreciate that so much.
Well, and the before NFTs got popular in BSV, I was working on something I was calling Revies. And because in Anne, let's say you have a neuron that's getting a lot of revenue, whether it's one of these Donald Trump that everybody's clicking on, and imagine you getting Satoshis for 1 million likes or dislikes or 10 million. It adds up very fast. But other revenue streams could be services. Like I have an email validation service that's all done on chain. It's like, it blows my mind why something like this wasn't done instead of Paymail. But we went in the direction of Paymail. I went in this direction just to build it because I thought it needed to be built. But there's revenue streams associated with it. So I went and people started to ask me, well, what if I want to share my revenue stream for my service automatically on chain? And that's where the idea of Revies came about. It's like you have this generational wealth, this neuron that you have that can generate revenue, but maybe you want 10 people to be able to partake and bankroll. So now you can even bankroll a future service because you're giving them a promise of a share of the revenue stream. And this is all can easily be done in Anne. But then when people started doing the NFTs and I started seeing some of the work being done on layer 1, which I hadn't looked at, this is naturally a very neat thing that could be looked at on layer 1, because currently that type of stuff in Anne would be done with a service. And so it runs on a server. When you want to split the money comes into an app, you split it up. And, like the games are doing on Haste, they're doing things they have a service. They have to have code that runs. So if somebody attacks Amazon and your service is on Amazon, sorry, they can't use your product anymore. That's why I was then looking at the layer 1 code to try to maybe be involved with some of the stuff like Revies before I kind of ran too quickly with them. But it's like another learning curve, and I don't have all the time in the world, so that's why I was trying
You need to like duplicate yourself first.
I know. How did you
That's
get
what we're talking about.
Let me ask, do you meditate?
Meditation's a natural part of, yes, I would. By your I could answer that as yes, without,
You make music as well, don't you?
I do. I have made music, but I don't have a way to make music right now. Otherwise, I might break into song and dance on a spontaneous moment in the middle of the night, for a good break. But yes, I have in the past.
Okay,
you've heard it. In a lot of the old memes was my music. Yeah, but I just didn't tell people it was my track.
Yeah, I was really interested in Movie Mensa because it's very much like IMDb, and then obviously with this 432 media, which is a bit like Spotify. With Movie Mensa, would Movie Mensa be able to sort of then plug into the 432 Spotify and go, right, this track is from this film, and they would be able to do that as well? Yeah, I mean, without any problem whatsoever, it sounds.
Yeah, absolutely. The data's there. The biggest lift for us moving forward, us as in any potential users of Ann, there's old world data that we have in all of our formats, and then there's what I'm calling new world data, the data that I want to build. And so if we can get things in new world data, then it can be used in new world system, not one world. I'm not going to go there, but new world. No. Yeah. But I mean, it can end up being one. That's great. But I'm not going to it's new world data. So the challenge then, there's a one-time lift to get information from it, whatever structure it's in, into the new world system. I had to do that with Movie Mensa because the Movie Mensa source has all these attributes and JSON and technical stuff of how they store their information. And I want to get it into my system. So that is an effort. But I also created a way in Ann neurons that it was called a mapper protocol. And now by using Ann and generating transactions, you can create a mapper that will map an old world system to a new world one. So I created the Movie Mensa mapper with this interface, let's call it. So because I was thinking, I could manually do this, but then what's the next person going to do?
From now until the end of time, yeah.
But we'd have to manually manually write code for everyone. I wanted to eventually then have a mapper tool that says, hey, point me to your new world resource, and then give me the schema, the format of what this is. Oh, here's a song, and a song is comprised of an artist and a track time, and it's a part of a genre, whatever the attributes are, and tell me how that shows up. And then now map that to what those are in Ann. Here's the song, whatever that mapping process could be done with a tool. And now it creates a mapper. And now moving forward, any song in that world could be mapped over into the new world data source, and now it's all interconnected, and then the downstream tools would work without any compatibility because you have those songs stored in the one schema.
Yeah.
So I have some friends that are into independent journalism circles and have a lot of really important information about the true narrative right now. And is there any tools that Ann has now that are ready for that type of content?
No, but if you could give me an example of some of the type of content, I could make it possible that some tools could be ready soon. If the holdup, there's one holdup, and it goes back to what we talked about. Sorry, I'm pointing to these boxes. Y'all screen. No one's going to know what I'm doing. I'm pointing to you, Ruth. What you had mentioned about the grammar, when you just had talked about the grammar, the ideal system would be able to be fed information and be able to process it into the new world form. This is the home run. If I had if I had the R&D line done, or to a point where it understands language, and now I can feed it a Wikipedia page, and it processes these data points and stores the events, stores all this without me having to arduously tell it where everything is. If I had that, then this is what
you're away.
Then we're off to the races, and we're not going to be stopped if that is available. If I have to meticulously conceptualize these things, even to the sentence level, though. For an example, if I say George Soros invested or owns 58% of this new COVID testing product, this is a sentence, but there's some important semantic roles in that sentence that
the relationships,
of the person who's the one that's owning, of the date is a locative for location. If something happens in a certain place, if you're saying this event happened in Philadelphia, Philadelphia is fulfilling the location role in that thought. So there's semantic roles that are important, and to be able to get those stored, right now I'd have to manually conceptualize. Before, in my old project, since I manually built a parser, I could conceptualize those things and then store them right. But right now, I do not have that. So right
you need
now,
like a prologue or something, don't you, to somehow translate?
I can build this, but it requires chasing the R&D side in order to make these tools robustly be able to go get the data that I want them to have in them. We did it, we built a mapper for Movie Mensa, but we're not actually, that's an easy mapper, because this is like simple information to say, here's the director, here's the actor, here's the date. But on these complex thoughts that come, whether it's expression in conversation, reading a book, tying thoughts together, it requires these deeper semantic roles. And I have not built that system in this iteration of this project for this yet. So when it comes to getting dates in to make a fun date tool, I can put them in, and I think that's what the solution is. Put them in, and don't worry that I'm not conceptualizing the meat and potatoes of the sentence. I'll come back and do that later. Anne can come back when Anne is capable, can come back and say, hey, I've got an event. I see that happened on this time. I know who is involved, but on the complex part, I'm going to process that. And guess what? We do that as humans. We come back and
and you understand things in a totally different way 10 years later than you did 10 years before. Yeah.
Right. So it's not the end of the world if I go this to get
I agree. You could pick out the highlights and take the low-hanging fruit, couldn't you? And
that's right.
Come back and revisit the rest later. Yeah.
Then a system like that, we could mass import 1 billion pieces of information into Anne. You think a gigabyte's a big block? I'm just saying we could get really. And then these tools, the data visualization and the exploratory tools, they work. They work because the data's there, and you're talking about a treasure trove of insights waiting for any user. Be kind of like the users who had fun finding the pictures in the Google Earth. They're finding out all these little hidden Easter eggs.
Yes.
That's how this would end up being, because it's not like we didn't do it. I didn't do it. Nobody working on the project made all these insights. They're just insights ready to be found because they're now findable. Right now we have to do this manually when you're looking like a crackpot with the red yarn on the wall, doing some graph like this.
Yes, all the connections.
Oh, I see it. This can now this now is there for the take. It's like Paradise Papers on steroids is what it is. You're talking about a graph database on functional with semantic.
You can walk through in 3D as well, potentially.
And that is initially what Anne was named for, the Awareness Neural Net Explorer. This is
awareness.
But the Explorer part, that awareness is the ahas, and then that Explorer part is the idea of once information's in this structure, we're going through a global brain. I'm now the little electrochemical traveling through the synapse. I am in with you going down, and we're able to travel through that then. And again, loosely, we're just talking about the connections. I don't want to get hit by anybody who's going to go too autiste on me and say, hey, you haven't talked about firing neurons yet. Nothing's firing. Yeah, I haven't talked about it, but I understand that's also, part of the silicon intelligence. There's a digital neuron firing potential that doesn't have to emulate a biological neuron. And one other side jaunt I want to get out there. There are people who are doing real things with biological material, and that creeps me out. Okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask if you know about black goo.
I'm familiar with it. I don't know anybody else. I mean, I only have I can only conject what there may be there. So I'm familiar with the black goo, but I'm saying I'm creeped out with anything when people are mucking about and connecting things to people. This is like abomination level to me. I want to interact on human level, not creepazoid.
Yeah, transhumanism's not cool.
Frankenstein level.
No.
So
there's a man named William Henry that has information about transfiguration and the organic way that the ancient people left information for us to activate these dormant technologies within our vehicles organically, and not with the technology, with the transhumanism. So that's the kind of people that I want to funnel to you first, so they can get their content on this platform before that other hijacking of the narrative comes. I mean, like, we are being merged with machine really fast, and it's really scary because there's such a sacred organic path to activating your light body and the intelligence within.
Yeah, and that is gonna.
That's the knowledge they're keeping from us.
That's right, and the path of robotics and this hardware stuff, that it's like we already have it. This was the awareness. So all the effort I put in this project that I've talked about, I've referenced a few times. I used to do. It was before I had children, and then I ditched the project. I went and still used some of the things from it. But long story short story long, really, I had children, and then had some amazing, observations that are so present and clear. I'm already engaging and involved with something that blows away any of your artificial intelligences. It blows it away. It's called human life. And this is why I get so fired up and sometimes, get in trouble. But when it just has to do with human life, or life, it's a very passionate topic. And I come from a good place, but it matters everything to me. It matters everything to me when people are harming us, tricking us, having people inject things that are categorically poison. And I know we get into the discussions and, anyways.
Well, and as parents, we have to start fixing this mess, or our kids are going to be left to do it. And I know you're going to be raising kids that are, in that same vein, but you're able-bodied and ready to go and completely capable right now. So this is the fight. This is the fight for humanity and our kids.
This is the fight of our lives.
Yeah.
That's right. And we it's long overdue. I personally have never had a problem with this. Maybe I have a broken circuit, but it's been helpful. I don't care what people think about me. They can call me names. They can, I don't care. They can say I'm a knuckle dragger. Okay, whatever, guy. I could get in a debate with them and prove them wrong, and I could make them look silly. Maybe I do that for fun, but I don't have to. Is what I'm saying. We're long overdue for giving other people power over the narrative, because we care about what it appears, and they have these words they say, and we're like, no, I don't want to be seen as an archaic religionist.
Shut you down with this magic word.
Exactly. Or you use the word spirit. Oh, I'm going to discount you. You can't be scientific if you've used that word. And it's long overdue that we don't have to fall into that. You know, we can be who we are. And like I said, I haven't had a problem with it, but I see it happening to people, and they get shut down, and then it you know.
Well, and the powers that be know how to take over and control our spirits, our vehicles. Mm-hmm. This is my Earth rover. There's all kinds of stuff that they've put into the world, like alcohol and cigarettes and like all these toxic chemicals, low vibrational emotional states. Like it allows us to be completely multidimensional, taken over. So the powers that be know that these are the warfare tactics they're using, but us, you know, that are still like asleep aren't aware that these are the things being done on our spirits. So until we start having this conversation, we have no chance.
That's right. And they have tech, different people will claim, I mean, it's information, people take it as you will, about the pineal gland, and that there are active efforts for people for technologies to target it and to make it not function as it's intended, as a bridge, because there's something special there. Yes, it's
a water-filled sac. Your pineal gland is a water-filled sac in the brain, and they are calcifying it and shutting it down, so we cannot access this inner technology.
I got a tsunami up in the pineal. It's going crazy.
Well, you clearly don't drink fluid. Yeah. You clearly don't drink the tap water.
I do not drink tap water.
Clearly do not.
So I'm just interested. But yeah, the new wave of because I'm into psychedelic medicine and all of that lot, and the new wave for mental health is actually for opening up consciousness, and they're trying basically mental health remedies now are going to be using psychedelic medicines. So they are going to be using like cannabis and ayahuasca, DMT, magic mushrooms, psilocybin, MDMA for PTSD and stuff. And this is what the big pharmaceutical companies are now starting to invest in. These investors are, because this is where the new medicine for mental health is coming into play. So this is quite interesting because in one sense they're attacking consciousness, but on the other sense they're trying, like with mental health, they're trying to actually now bring forth so that people can experience consciousness. So this is a real battle.
That's a tough one. I would say one quick thing on that, and then I'll let you all say what you will on that one. I have folks that I'm connected to that are into have done DMT and had good experiences, changed their life and different stuff. I would caution my worldview and my where I come from. There is a real, and then there is a poser or a fake. And the poser and the fake can be better than the current prison we're living in. So I'm not saying that there's not improvement to be made. When I'm getting, we've been lied to, and we're like stuck in this. We're like chained to the carnal ground, like anti-spirit ground, and with negative spiritual principles operating. And there, so I would just caution that there are these psychedelic experiences. I would definitely say they're not for everybody, and I would also definitely say you could be opening up to an experience, all right, and get Willy Wonka more lost than you were before.
Yeah.
Can I say something on that note? Because I took a class. It's a 7-day class from an Aboriginal man named Steve Richards. It's called Holographic Kinetics. And they're pulling on 60,000 years worth of Aboriginal knowledge. It's some of the most suppressed content out there, but he cautioned big time when it comes to psychedelics, because everything has a spirit, everything, including those plants. And they are very highly intelligent beings. And if you take that plant into you, there's universal laws that state if you enter into the dimension of another, you give that entity the rights to enter into your dimension, manipulate as it sees fit too. You don't know what that consciousness of that plant has as an intention for you. So some people that take ayahuasca and different things, they can actually be completely taken over by the spirit of that vine and can be choked out from like not being in the driver's seat of their vehicle because they gave control of their driver's seat over to this entity, and it's sitting in there residing in your car with you for as long as until you learn how to multidimensionally clear that interference. So there's a lot going on there, and it's a lot of people have generational karma that needs to play out that these plant spirits can play a part in too. So some people, it can actually destroy their consciousness and life.
Yeah, I've seen both. I've actually seen both cases, and that's why for me, I don't have anything to compare it to, but I would say I go there already. I don't need the plant.
Yeah,
I actually go there already. So, but I can't actually know that, but because I haven't taken I haven't had the time loss trip on the plant. But I have time loss all the time. I have what I'm getting at is I only know what is for me, and I'm very happy. And I perceive that there are shortcuts being taken that aren't that the one driving in that car is taking a shortcut they are not ready to go down. And so,
might wind up somewhere they definitely didn't intend to go.
And we're third dimensional beings. So until we learn how to master this universe with what you're doing, this dimension, we don't need to be playing in all these other dimensions that we don't have any idea what's going on in those realms. These consciousness of these plants are the masters of those realms. We're just winging it and hoping for the best at the end of the experience, which it's not good for everybody. So like I said, that entity can still manipulate your life once you've let it in until you clear it. And the Aboriginal people know how to clear multidimensional interference from the body. So this maps. There are multiple other religions that have corollaries to exactly what you're saying. Just to put that out there. So what you're saying is known, is experienced. It might use a different language. Depending on the context or the way you're coming into it, but of having generational curses is I've heard it called, and having to clear those and become free of this. And in science, even without spirit, you could talk about epigenetics, where not the genome but the epigenome is like metagenome, and that can be expressed through environmental factors that all of a sudden come out. That Grandpa didn't show it, great grandpa didn't show it, and my dad didn't show it. All of a sudden, I'm showing it because it got triggered, but my great had it too. But you couldn't see it in a gene. It's epigenetic, sort of very interesting, because it kind of tells science not everything's stored in the genes, guys. Figure it out. Get with the program. There's other data sources in play. Big time. And so for me, it's fun when you go there with the hardcore science only person.
Just as a point of interest, I noticed Calvin Ayre tweeted out today, just finished my ayahuasca treatment at Rhythmia in Costa Rica. Not sure if he healed anything yet, but what a trip.
Is that what he was? Is that what he was doing when we were having the reorg?
Right.
It's a really bad trip.
Yeah. Maybe Calvin pushed the wrong button. He's interdimensionally playing a hash war with himself.
Just another aside. I understand that you are into the electric universe theory as well.
Yes.
And what is that?
I am too. I love it.
Yeah, this is so science has been hijacked for over 100 years in certain areas,
of course.
And the electric universe is a group of diverse folks that have kind of aligned on a view of the universe that is more electrically connected, where electricity plays a prominent role in between the bodies, where the solar system is like an engine, and the planets are orbiting around, and the sun is not a nuclear reactor generating.
It's an anode.
But it's around. It's a spheroid planet. It's not flat Earth stuff. This is like I'm just saying. There's that world. This is electric universe is
not flat Earth.
Not. That's completely different stuff. This is along those lines. And there's kind of a couple of pioneers. Don Scott was one. He actually wore the VR goggles and partook in a product that me and my buddy created. We showed him something. I posted a spiraling. I posted a spiraling graphic meme before, but it's just an aside in the meme. So if I ever showed you again, you might say, "Oh, I remember seeing that. Oh my goodness!" But
what's his name? Don Scott.
Don Scott. There's
Walt Thornhill,
and then there's David. What's his last name?
Wolf.
Walt.
Walt.
Yeah.
Walt Thornhill.
And David, I'm blanking on his name. Sorry, Electric Universe. But those are the guys that have kind of put the information out. They've kind of come along the way. I'm not a full timer, and I'm not like an all in, but I believe they have aspects that are true, and I've gleaned a lot from them. I've learned a lot from them. I really like the YouTube channel called Suspicious Observer.
Oh, I do.
Ooh, cool.
Yeah. It's a bit hardcore though, so be careful what you watch.
It's not spooky, right?
No. This is space weather. It's about like observing the sunspots, the sun cycles, because
I love it.
The sun is intricately connected and to the earth, not just like this light ball shining out there. I mean, we've got a very unique and powerful relationship in our solar system with our sun. And
sun gazing is huge.
Yeah. You know what? On the topic of sun gazing, my grandmother, who is amazing, she's in her 90s, still alive. I just spoke with her 2 days ago on Skype. She's 90.
Wow, how cool!
Mid 90s. She sent me old letters that she used to have before from the 50s. International letters from some group in South America that was big on sun gazing, and they would literally give out these little colored slides in their newsletter. So you would look through these different colors and they have all the science and the information behind it. But back then it was like, I can't even say bulletin board, a newsletter. It was a newsletter group. That's how they met, international letters. So yeah, sun gazing is a fun topic.
I contribute where I'm at in like this space, and just like finding the keys that spirit has led me to, where I'm at in life from sun gazing. Because I like every opportunity that I get, morning or night, as soon as the sun doesn't make me squint anymore, I stare at it as much as I can and just say, Spirit, show me the keys, and ask for guidance. And I just like, then something happens. It's like, I swear that there's so much information. Like photosynthesis, you don't even have to know it, but we
Breatharians use
very much electrical beings.
Sure. So when you take that sun in through the eyes and it hits the midbrain, you can get so much information, even though it's not like in words. You can.
That's why the colors are the colors. So this letter didn't, or this group didn't go necessarily in that direction that you're talking. Scientifically, it did. It didn't go into the. I don't know how to phrase it, but it didn't go into the prayer or that side of it. It just went into it was more of like a science only side to say, but to get to the same point. It didn't have the sayings that come along with it, like the positive
affirmations.
There you go. Thank you for firing the neuron. That's what I was trying to get to. It didn't have the affirmation parts to it, but the colored. It's interesting when you change the frequency of the light changes, but you're still using the same light. So that's why they have these different ones. It's the same thing for moods, mood colors, and lots of things for baby rooms, and different things for different moments. And
color
therapy. I'm very into Ray Pete and Jack Cruz, and Jack Cruz is a massive sort of sun gazer. He recommends it in the morning, and I use red light a lot as a therapeutically, because I've got rheumatoid arthritis. So all of this all connects up very nicely actually with Electric Universe. So I don't know whether you've ever read Gerald Pollack's Fourth Phase of Water Lukas, but I recommend it. Yeah.
No, I have. Yeah.
We're being charged up by the sun, and our easy zone, exclusion zone water appears in the presence of photons of light.
That's right.
And
those characters.
No light, death.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No. I don't want to. I've been talking about. I should be. I didn't. All I wanted to highlight was those characters. And more that are dealing with water, the memory of water, they all cross through and connect into the electric universe. So I get to talk to them in meetings about non-Bitcoin. I have a group of people we meet and
introduce me, Lukas.
Well, I've got Dale in. Dale's in. She's talking wild card, and it's a fantastic group of folks that are and I have started to introduce them to Ann, but that's not the point. But the point is, it's a loosely coupled group of humans. So this is like, we could do an incubator where we have that on, I think Dojo I mentioned before, I saw that they're doing that. This is a human incubator, like a human idea. So it starts with us talking and us engaging and finding where we're mutually interested, and I could help with that part, and ideas, and then it moves into the how can we realize this in the electronic form, and use tools to help us do what we want to do. So that's
magnify the effect, basically. Yeah, and connect it all together. Well, this has been a fantastic discussion, but we probably ought to wrap up because it's been an hour and 40.
Oh wow!
Has anybody else got anything that they want to ask? Has anybody got any questions they want to ask? Or Lukas, have you got any kind of final thought?
Well, I did want to ask, you had said about if there's not the connection made immediately, just with the date, the connection could be made, and then later the system would somehow go back and then it would categorize all of the data points. So you're saying that the system does that itself. It's not that there's people in there categorizing.
Yeah, no, the system, the categorization starts by you creating a category, like in the LinkedIn example. If you wanted to just, let's say that in Ann there is no concept of job skill, like the category of job skill doesn't exist. It's just never been encountered. So we would create that as a category, as a neuron, and then we might start creating a couple of job skills. Let's say we create 5 new skills that are documented as a job skill, and then as the system's used in this case, it could encounter new job skills. People could like say, hey, here's my 20 job skills. Like you create a tag. In that example, the system would be the people are creating them. The system creates them by allowing the people to use the system.
Okay, so there's people in there interacting, and then that is what the work is going on.
Yeah, by using the use case app, though, that's the key. So the app is actually just being used, and it's creating more categories, and it's creating those types of wirings. But the ones I was talking about on the dates are the ones that they have complex information involved, where it's like a who, what, when, where, why, how kind of thing. If you have a sentence that addresses quite like let's say I gave somebody this pen right here. Mr. Scatman gave Bob a pen. Like, I am the giver. This is a semantic role. Somebody received it. This is categorically different, because then if you want to change the aspect with Ann and say, I want you to speak from the receiver's viewpoint, they will say that Bob gave me a pen, not that I gave you a pen or I received a pen from Bob. See, that's a different, because you know who's playing the giver and the receiver with respect to that particular verb, which has a giver and receiver. Other ones don't. So this is where it gets into the semantic roles. And I don't have that technology on the R&D side to do that by just turning Ann loose onto the internet. If I did, we would be
that's what I thought. Right.
Yeah, so,
I thought, wow.
But if we have a date from, Casey has this information, she said people have gathered, and you have information like a a web of information. So-and-so did this on this date. So-and-so bought this. This company hired this. All these types of dates. I can categorize it and get the date right. But when it comes to breaking down the complex giver and
Meaning,
receiver,
yeah.
like I won't have that meaning. So I won't be able to do super intelligent things yet, but we can come back and contextualize the sentence part.
Right,
of
and that
what
one would be the people recontextualizing.
No, I can have Anne do it once.
Anne can do it.
Anne can do it, and the SI, the silicon intelligence, can do it once that is built and has had the experience to learn English. That's the goal.
Wow.
That's the crazy SI goal. I do not, because I can make Anne do that if I program the ability to conceptualize language. I don't want to do that again. It's not fun. It's a hack. It's what everybody does in different versions. It's very impressive. Don't get me wrong. Google can do it and release a new product and the whole world will be like, oh my goodness, it's so advanced. I don't want to do that. I'm not interested in that. That's a hacky thing. It's like, and it takes way more time than I have. I've got
loads of processing power. Yeah.
I have got to create something that is like this SI genome. It's the brain of the SI, and then everything from then on is from observation. So then one version of this can learn English and become that. Another one could do a different one. You know, it's how it interacts and from those data streams, like you do with your. To me, I would encourage everyone just to. When you engage with your children or a child or and see how they're learning language, this is key. This ends up being key when you see what's happening there. That's what I need to have available, a form of that in the SI. Then it learns language, and I can teach it in an accelerated pace, you know, of learning language. And then that thing can do all the hard work for me to a million Scatmans. You see, that's what I'm saying. Then I have the ability to process that without people meticulously going, well, that one here, let me see. You're like, that's, right. Now there are versions of that to go find the data and just get it in the first time.
Yes.
To get it in Anne's playground.
Template it.
Yes.
Yeah, but Superwoman Anne, or whatever we want to call her, you know, and again, very hypothetical. SI hypothetical. I don't want to make any claims to folks that are like, this is ridiculous, but I have a path. I have a path to get there, and I could make some very strong arguments if I wanted. But again, I don't care if people say I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. So I don't have to waste my time doing all that. I can just focus on what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
you're not
we appreciate and support everything that you're doing.
Yeah, we do.
And I'm so grateful that you have been so
very excited
conscious with your product and not allowing it to be used for harming.
Yeah.
We do really appreciate it.
The more of us that engage on this level, then the more we can get to the right way to release her. And that's what's exciting to me too. Because and that's why it looped in. Dale's been fantastic. There are other folks that are a part of that group that I'm not excluding. But it's been very helpful. And the more that we can get involved in that level, and that's why I've been trying to drop some of these little morsels out here and there to see if I can, because it has to be the right people though, because I'm not looking to proselytize and convert anybody.
No.
They got to have this in them and see it and
the fire in them.
Yeah. And
then target all the people that are being canceled for the content that they're sharing. I mean, that's what I've already been doing, like trying to say, hey, let me welcome you to the MetaNet. So,
this might be a good answer to what kind of app that should be created quickly, is one that focuses on those folks.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Immediately, because then you already know.
Did you hear Dr. McCullough has had all of his content deleted from the Wayback Machine?
Wayback Machine deleted too.
Yes.
You guys do realize that before all this stuff happened, there was a spree of like over 100 doctors that were murdered or suicide. Like they took out the loudest people with the biggest reach prior to this pandemic that could have reached the masses with their content. Like this has been coming for so long. They have this plan, and these are the tools we need to fight back. it's
Yeah, we have
so
to
beyond
accelerate
time.
this. Lukas, you must let us know in any way that we can help you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have a bad. I don't do that well, and I'm aware of that. And I'm trying to find ways that I can do that well, because
Even if it's boring work, like
the
if it's something that you
project
can
depends on
hand
it.
over because it's boring.
But the reality is the
I'd love
project
to
depends
help.
on it, and I want to. Everything about what I'm doing, I want to get it to where it can be that, because I don't
It's
want
not
to
there
be the
yet.
guy. I don't want to be the guy. Like I said, the bottom. It's us. There's so much potential here, and that's why I've been trying. I knock on doors and see what happens, and I believe this is exactly where it needs to be at this moment, and I have no doubt about that, and it's going in the direction it needs to go. So
that's a wonderful endpoint, I think. You're exactly where you need to be and going exactly where you need to go. That's great. We've really enjoyed this conversation. We've loved having you on.
Yeah.
Just blown all our minds. We'd love to have you back again sometime as well.
Love it. Thanks.
And just keep doing what you're doing, because we're watching eagerly and waiting for the arrival of these apps, and and we would love to participate in any way we can. So
okay, and I have 3 little women that one day will be a part of your show.
Yay! Welcome.
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
Yes.
How old are they?
7, soon to be 6, and 3.
Wow.
Lovely ages.
That brain's in
Exhausting
theta in
ages.
record mode until 7, 8 years old. So I have my 3rd child. I actually know that with this time, and I'm doing things so much differently. So you're an inspiration as a father too, as well. I'm
absolutely
grateful that they have you too, because this is another extremely important form of activism. What you're doing with them.
I appreciate this. I'm blessed. The role we get to play in life and here, and I can't. Words will fail me, and I might even get teary-eyed just to think about it. So, I'm.
The important days we're living through.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Many blessings.
Yep.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
I'm gonna
Scatman.
hit the end button.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay.